Hi. So, I just wanted to pop on really quick and let you know that my schedule is changing a bit, I think. I don't know. So, for that reason, I'm going to close my books for personal readings for the time being. Obviously, the people who already have readings scheduled, nothing changes for you. We will do those readings on those dates and times, but I'm just not going to take any new bookings, at least for right now. So obviously, I will let you know if that changes. We're talking about May. Shouts out to you, May babies, Taurus and Gemini. I'm a cusper. My birthday is on the 20th. Oh my gosh. So, anyway, without further ado, let's get into the reading. We're going to be using the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck. And then we're using this tarot deck. I need to find the name of it. It doesn't come with a book, which is really annoying to me, but I'll figure it out. I'll Google it because I have no clue. I got it a couple years ago. So without further ado, and obviously because of my schedule, the videos are going to come out probably a bit more sporadically. Just an FYI on that too, if you care. But yeah, let's get into it. Great. Let's see who's next. I don't think I'm going to... We have Capricorn. I was just thinking about Capricorn. That's kind of funny. Literally, like as I was sitting here shuffling the cards, because I do that, before a reading, I was literally sitting here thinking about Capricorn. We'll see if the card I was thinking about comes out too. I don't want to jinx it. But I was also thinking that, there we go. I don't really think, well, I think I already said it. I don't think I'm going to use a bowl anymore to like pick, the next like sign or whatever. I'm sure you've probably heard me say before that I'll go where the energy takes me as long as it feels good. And for a while the energy felt good to like pull from the bowl, but now it's like annoying for some reason, and nothing's changed except, like I said, I think just the energy around it changed. So I don't really know like how we're gonna pick going forward, or just go back to like doing things in order. I'm not even entirely sure. I do feel like just finishing up the zodiac signs though before finishing up the human design profiles for whatever reason. So I think I'm going to try honoring that too. So, let's see. We have Star Ancestor, follow the voice of your soul. That is beautiful. Do we need a light? I don't know. Is that better? Worse? Who knows? Star Ancestor, follow the voice of your soul. I love that, it's depicted out here in like space and matter. And speaking of energy too, like I was saying with the bowl thing, it's so interesting how all of that just tends to come together. Let's get the rest of your cards out and then we'll talk about the Star Ancestor a little bit more. Definitely getting like a feeling of like a inner calling, or just like something that maybe needs to be done. And it doesn't even have to be anything like crazy, big, extravagant. It could just be, cleaning out your closet, or doing something that you haven't done in a while, or, something even along those lines. I mean, it can certainly be like a big drastic change, but spectrum, right? Everything is on a spectrum. And I also, I just saw this video the other day about somebody was asking Neil deGrasse Tyson if the universe is gay or straight or something. And what a random what a random question, but like that's interesting. We have the world at the end of the, or at the bottom of the deck. But basically, Neil deGrasse Tyson said that it's a spectrum. And the guy the guy who asked the question was like, "Oh, so it's bi." But it just reminded me of that, like the spectrum part, because we have this star ancestor here, and there is, obviously this, all of this outer space and energy and all of that. And then, like I said, I love that we have the world at the bottom of the deck too, like just how it relates to that. But then we have the Fool that came out in the reverse. That's partly why I looked at the bottom of the deck, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't shuffling the cards upside down, because I have a tendency to do that. But I don't shuffle reversals into the deck. So if they come out in the reverse, then they're supposed to be, or they want to be, reversed. Also, the Fool is a card that comes after the World. So, the Fool is the beginning, the World is the end type of thing. And again, not like super dramatic, but just, we have the Daughter of Cups or the Page of Cups. We have the Eight of Wands. That's interesting. We have the Death card with the Fool. The Father of Wands or the King of Wands. And the Five of Wands. And then we have the Eight of Swords, Ten of Swords, Seven of Swords. What is going on, Capricorn? Tell me right now. And then the Ace of Wands after all of that. The Eight of Swords was flipped over in the deck. We don't take the cards that flip over in the deck. We take the cards that fall out. All of my decks, we all have an agreement. We have a contract. We agree that for the sake of clarity, we're only going to take the cards that actually fall out of the deck. It's so funny, the amount of people that have told me I'm doing it wrong. As if there's like a right way, but it's funny to me in the sense that you would feel the need to tell somebody that they're wrong about something that has a lot of nuance anyway, like, and something that you should kind of make your own. Anyway, listen, we're not going to go on that tangent, but let's see what the Star Ancestor is talking about. All right, you look at the card. I will read about it. Heed the messages coming directly from your soul. The Star Ancestors is a Native American term for extraterrestrial light beings who are dedicated to the healing and growth of the world. I was thinking Starseed when I saw the card, but I didn't want to like attach a thing. These incredible beings are divine embodiments of love who bring wisdom from the higher realms. Often people feel a sense of connectedness when they look into the night sky and see the stars. I believe that's because they are remembering their starry connections, and those are what this card represents. The Star Ancestors are reminding you that you have otherworldly support and that your friends from the stars can help you if you are willing to be helped. They can support you in connecting with and following your soul's deepest calling. There is a deeper purpose to your human journey. Not only were you born on purpose, you were born for a purpose. You are born to be a bright light in the world, and there are supporters out there in the universe sending waves of energy to guide you at this time. Information and inspiration that has been coming your way recently
is not new information, but memories. Your feelings of being drawn in a particular direction are the awakening of an aspect of your soul. You're being drawn towards a road that will not only light you up, but also help you light up your corner of the world. Continue following the cosmic guidance that is coming your way. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was going to mention star seeds before. I mean, if you've ever heard that term or looked into it, I mean, you might want to. There's different, we can see these different constellations. There are different constellations of star seeds also. So, you might connect more with one than, any of the others. There's also like this binary like code in here. So that could have something to do with it. Like, I'm not even entirely sure how it just all of a sudden I don't even know if you're hopefully going to be able to see it right here. There's like the zeros and the ones, and I don't know if this is numbers or language. But, I mean, you could be receiving downloads or just, it's like those whispers in the back of your head, or just really kind of coming up from your gut, really, that to, kind of head in a certain direction. And it's interesting that we have the Fool card in the reverse, because the Fool is like that moment of deciding that you're going to take that leap of faith, or you're deciding to do something new. So this is how it looks upright. There's feet here, which is also interesting because, like I was even saying with the Star Ancestor card, how I liked how it was depicted in space and, like energy and matter. I mean, look at these feet. Like, it's pure energy. And this feels very soulful, like, in our pure soul form. We're just energy, right? So I think that's so interesting. And then, there's this path that opens up here and just kind of this iridescent. But the Fool is, there's a lot of trust that goes into the Fool. There's a lot of surrender. It's like giving up control a little bit. It's a risk for sure. But it's also like honoring yourself. There comes a point where the only thing left to do is to actually do the thing, to actually take that leap of faith, right? So then we have it in the reverse. And I still think that it's like, I'm trying to find the words to, because I was staring at this card as I was shuffling, and I just kind of keep getting this feeling of like, you may be wanting to feel more stable or somehow more grounded, especially being Capricorn, right? And it's an earth sign. Earth is all about being grounded, but we can still see these feet, right? And more so, it's like the feet being on the ground becomes kind of the vocal point, since it's at the top of the card. And then I see this path as almost like being a root. I'm seeing these weeds too, and again, even just going back to the root thing. So there could even be something going on with the root chakra. But like I said, it's like this feeling of wanting to be grounded and feeling secure before actually taking the leap, before actually doing the thing. And I love how it is paired with a death card. Because it's like immediately no. Like, this has that feeling of like you are going to be waiting forever if you are thinking that you need to have any level of stability outside of the stability and grounding that you have right now, or do it already. Whatever the stability is, whatever the grounding is, it's like, has it become an excuse not to move? Like anytime I think of grounding, and in the past like couple months, I've been making a point of saying this, is that there's a difference between being grounded and like feeling, secure and confident in your actions versus being so rooted that you're immobile, that you can't move. There's no flexibility in there. So it's like, be the other. Be the one that's, you're grounded, you feel secure, you feel safe, you feel, taken care of, but you're also flexible. You're able to be moved. So again, with a death card, death is Scorpio. We just had a Scorpio eclipse last week, and eclipses are all about, kind of taking things out. So there could be something that is on its way out, or that you set an intention to release, because I believe that was a full moon, and that's generally what we do during full moons is, we set the intention to release things, energies, behaviors, emotions, whatever, so that when new moons come around, we can call in new energy and intentions and all of the things. It's also interesting on this card, hopefully you'll be able to see it. These are like little rubies, little like they're crystals. It's not, I mean, I know that it's made to look like, of course, the inside of this deer, but they're crystals, they're rubies. So it's like finding the beauty in something that's not very, like beautiful. Also, with a death card, there's that saying that every new beginning disguises itself as an end. There's truly something that needs to end so that something else can begin. And it could just be this hesitation. Here with the Fool card, it could be fear too. And then we have the Daughter of Cups, or the Page of Cups. And that is like having, this childlike imagination, creativity. I mean, really, like you could be coming up with scenarios as to like why you shouldn't be in full mode, right? Like reasons why you shouldn't do a thing, or reasons why, whatever. Because it is like, like your, the ego part of our minds is like talking us out of whatever the Fool is trying to foster in here for you. But of course, on the other side of things, it could be welcoming in more creativity, reconnecting to like, like your own creativity, your own imagination. We are really only limited by our own imaginations, in the sense of like what's possible, what we deserve, what we get, what we go after. And if, like your creative or your imagination box has gotten very small because maybe you haven't allowed yourself to expand on that, or even just think of what is possible and get creative in that sense, right? And I say like childlike imagination because pages are the younger, like, kind of naive. It's like, when you first start doing something, like you're kind of like a newbie, you're learning. It could be, of course, like dealing with children. It could be inner child. It could be somebody in your realm acting childish, good or bad. And then we have the King of Wands. Well, cups have to do with our emotions. I don't know if I said that. Emotional body, love, heart chakra. Not just romantic love, of course. It can be that, but on this channel, we don't dive into that. We dive into your relationship with love, because that's where it starts, right? And your relationship to love is going to determine how you express and how you receive love from and to other people. But, it is like, what is your relationship to love, as far as like, how do you express love to yourself? How do you feel about yourself? And how is that also like how you project, like onto like other people, how they feel about you? And then we have, like I said, we have the King of Wands, and Wands having to do with action, communication, motivation too. It's fire. I also see Wands as being information, because like whether you are getting it or giving it. But, by trying things or other people trying things, we learn stuff, we get information, right? Like we figure out what works, we figure out what doesn't work, what we like, what we don't like. And it's also interesting how this is an air card. Specifically, it's close to Aquarius, which is about like, innovation, and also even like getting creative with your ideas, which is also like an additional layer of that. Even going back to this like star ancestor card, like almost like tapping into like another layer of yourself, if that's what you need to call in order to, like I said, even, like feel that grounding, or like feel that stability, or even just need that additional layer of like validation in some sense. But then we have these two cups cards, or water, and then the rest of these cards are all wands on the table at least, and then we have like three swords cards at the bottom of the deck. But I don't know, like for whatever reason my brain like finds patterns like that, and I feel like it matters for some reason. Because too, like we kind of go from emotional body to actually like planning and executing things, right? Like taking actionable steps. And like I said, so we have the King of Wands here. And it's also interesting that in this King of Wands, we have this lightning strike that looks like a wand, but it's hitting water. And and that is exactly why, I feel like I point that out sometimes, because it tends to show itself eventually, because we're just talking about these water cards here, this lightning strike hitting the water. It's like needing that like jolt, like almost like needing that inspiration in the emotional body. Like you might have an idea of the things that you do love, the things that you do enjoy, and maybe that has something to do with a Fool card here. And maybe, like with the Fool card, like maybe being in reverse, maybe you don't feel like whatever this is could actually manifest or give you what you think that it could, or that you want it to. But I feel like the King of Wands is here saying that it could. And if anything, maybe the King of Wands, it could be you, it could be somebody else, comes in to like give you that jolt. The King of Wands specifically is Sagittarius. So, there could be a Sagittarius around. There doesn't have to be. It could even just be kind of taking on the Sagittarius energy, which again is, like fire. And I feel like Sagittarius is kind of like a pillar of information, because they seek out information, like learning different modalities and wanting to understand it. It's like, they are an endless student type of thing, right? But not necessarily like specifically school, but just in the sense of wanting to learn. And like I was literally just saying about wands being information, the King of Wands is also the highest expression of the suit, right? So they are a leader. They're somebody that, people look to for advice, or to be, a role model. This could even be becoming that role. And maybe you're not even sure if you want to be a role model or an example. Did the book say something about that? Your feelings of being drawn in a particular direction are the awakening of an aspect of your soul. You are being drawn towards a road that will not only light you up, but also help you light up your corner of the world. I also find that to be interesting since we have this path on the Fool card. And also, too, even this Father of Wands card, like how, like I said, the lightning bolt is hitting this water. There does feel like this awakening or even like activation thing going on here. And maybe that's what is being avoided here. Like maybe you're just kind of like, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want to be, like I was saying, like I don't want to be an example. I don't want to be, kind of perceived in that manner or whatever. But then it's like you're having those thoughts and those feelings because like you feel that pressure coming from somewhere within you, which I mean we can just assume, since this card came out, that it would be your soul calling you towards a specific path, and you're like, oh, I don't want to. But also, I always like, because I'm a Taurus, okay? So I'm a Taurus sun, Cancer rising, Virgo moon. So I'm like I'm a double earth, right? And I don't really think that you can push any of the earth signs to do anything that they don't want to do. And I do think too that, like earth signs do need a lot of information. And I'm not even sure if any earth sign could actually tell you what that information is. It's more like a feeling, actually, where like all of a sudden something clicks in the emotional body and it's like, okay, now. Like waiting. Something happens. It could even just be a sentence. It could be a word. It could be in a commercial. It could be in a tarot reading, of course. It could be in a conversation that you have or that you've overheard. But something along the road, it just kind of clicks. And it's like, now I'm ready to go, which is the Eight of Wands. I actually kind of feel like that's interesting how that connected. I wasn't really looking that forward yet. And then I looked down and I was like, there's the Eight of Wands. See how it just ends up coming together? Anyway, so the Eight of Wands is about like fast moving communication. Because again, I feel like with earth signs, we might be slow in the beginning. Like we might, really take like teeny tiny baby steps forward. And maybe that's annoying to people because I mean, like for me, I will talk about a thing. But like I said, eventually it's like something clicks. Maybe it's even just hearing yourself out loud, and hearing the ideas or hearing your feelings around a thing or even, like what you're planning to do. And it like all of a sudden, like something just kind of clicks. And now it's like, okay, I have all of this energy available to like put into executing this thing. Executing, of course, as far as like doing something, not, death. I don't know why, for whatever reason, I needed to like over communicate that. But again, okay, so the Eight of Wands, it is usually fast moving communication. And, I also kind of find it interesting that there's this lightning strike on the King of Wands, like we were saying. And then look how it just fans out. It's almost like this one, and not even to mention, on the actual King of Wands, it's, there's all of these, I don't know what the term is, but branches coming off of this one lightning strike, and also how that happens in the Eight of Wands. This feels very unalome, like the symbol that talks about the path to enlightenment. Speaking of paths, just because, we have this lightning strike up here, and then it gets very smooth here in the middle, and then it branches out down here. So, I mean, that could be representative of life, right? I mean, like if there was a point, an extended period of your life that you felt things were just chaotic all over the place, a bunch of different like branching outs, a lot of different roads opening up, and then at one point in your life feeling like, okay, like things are smooth, it's going okay, more straight lines, right? And then here we are again where that's branching out, and it's branching out to 8 different ones. So whatever this is, it could even be like opening opportunities in multiple areas of your life. It could even just be taking care of multiple areas of your life or activating multiple areas of your life. And maybe that's also like a concern or what have you. I mean, this could even be something out of the blue that has happened or is going to happen. It doesn't feel bad, but it feels like you see it as like an inconvenience or a negative, because we have it paired with the 5 of Wands. And the 5 of Wands is about competition, conflict. Fives are transitionary energies. They're not anything to like pitch a tent in and get stuck, but it is to get you from point A to point B. And I always think of Mulan with the 5 of Wands because it has this like, conditioning and training aspect to it. I mean, even look at this bow and arrow. I'm pretty sure that arrow is pointing in the wrong direction. But you learn that by doing. But like with Mulan, right? So they all go to warrior training. It's a shit show. The prince is like, I am not going to be able to turn these people into actual warriors. And then Mulan steps up, which could definitely be Father of Wands energy, but Mulan steps up. She climbs up that pole, right? And it like changes the vibe of everybody. And, so then they start training, they start getting better. And then, and that's all in the 5 of Wands. It's like muscle memory. Like you have to suck at something in order to get good at it. You're not just going to pick something, like sit at a piano and be able to like bust out a whole thing, whatever the term is for a whole thing. You have to practice. And you do have to suck at it at first, but it'll get better. Because then we move on to the 6 of Wands, and the 6 of Wands is success after, turbulation or whatever, conflict. They're coming out of battle successful. I know that we don't have the 6 of Wands out here, but just, the whole purpose of the 5 of Wands is to set you up for success. But it's interesting. So, okay, we have the 8 of Swords, the 10 of Swords, and the effing 7 of Swords. So the 8 of Swords is like a self-inflicted mind prison. This is, there's no other choice. I have no choice. This is, definitely very, kind of victim-y, giving your power away type of thing. When ultimately, you're not trapped in here. It's interesting that we have this bug that's on their back. Because again, like maybe that's just that, how you feel. Like you're just, on your back. You can't like roll over, right? And you're just, your arms and legs are just kind of like frolicking, trying to get like momentum to like roll over. Traditionally, on the 8 of Swords, there's somebody who's blindfolded and their hands look like they're bound. But the more that you look at the card, the more that you see like their hands aren't like the binding that's on their hands isn't actually tied. So they could, if they wanted to, if they made the decision, they could free their hands, take off the blindfold, and just walk out from this, like little prison of swords that they created around them. So again, it comes down to literally making a decision. but also just like that mental gymnastics that like comes with making decisions. Like analysis paralysis is how this feels. And then we have the 10 of Swords. And it's interesting in this card because, for one, we have two deceased animals here on the tarot cards. Okay, for the YouTube algorithm, like we're not talking about, Anyway, and speaking of, before we go there, because I will forget. So, this is probably really bad timing, but, you know, I don't know. If you haven't already, I would love it if you liked the video. Leave a comment, even if it is just an emoji if you're not a big commenter. I love emojis. But yeah, like the video, dislike it, if that is your truth. Of course, it's engagement and I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, and I think that's it. But of course, like, my intention is to grow this beautiful community. And of course, I can't do that without you. So any help with that is appreciated. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh well. Okay, so back to you. So when we get to the 10 of Swords, tens are completion, right? So it's thinking everything that you can think of. It's trying to predict, like what is going to happen. But also in this carcass here, there's all of these objects. There's a spring, there's a bottle cap, there's I don't know if you're going to be able to see, there's a safety pin, there's a chain here, there's a few other things among the swords, of course. And those almost have been feeling like sentimental. It could even just be, that the junk that just kind of like gets stuck in our head, especially, like with the 8 of Swords. I always see swords as being our ego also. Swords represent our mind. It's our ideas, our thoughts, our perceptions, inspiration. It's also, how we're communicating those things. And also, like I said, ego, because that's generally where we hear our ego is in our minds. So, our ego is created by the stories that we attach to experiences. So that's why, like, these kind of feel like sentimental in some capacity, like, because there's a story attached to every single one of these things. It could be a memory or not, it could just be something that lives in your body. But like I said, right, like tens are a completion. So there's some level of like, there's nothing else to really necessarily think about here. And then we have the 7 of Swords behind that. And the 7 of Swords, I see the 7 of Swords as being the card of us fooling ourselves, because it does talk about risk. It talks about trickery, thievery, like kind of lower level manipulation type of things. And it's interesting that there's this white picket fence here, and these swords are like, just really in the ground. So it's like, shifting your perspective, or even like changing an identity. Like, if you identified, for example, if you identified family or marriage to be in a specific way, and I'm only saying that because of this white picket fence, because, like, that was the dream however long ago, right? Like, to have a white picket fence and like the perfect nuclear family and blah blah blah. So it's like, is there something that is like very kind of rooted in an idea that is like preventing you from moving forward? Even this Fool card. And like I said, are you fooling yourself? Like, is this like self-sabotage? Are those gremlins like really being very loud? And the gremlins, according to like Brene Brown, are like those shame stories. It is that part of our ego that, tries to prevent us from getting outside of our comfort zone. And then, like I said, we have the Ace of Wands behind it. So look how dark these cards are. And then there's like literally this matchstick with this fire here. And the Ace of Wands talks about new inspiration. It's creativity, passion, having that spark, right? Like, it's very sacral chakra energy. The Mother of Swords or the Queen of Swords is, like being confident, knowing in your mind like what you want to do, like being very clear about your ideas. There's an honesty and like truth aspect that goes into the swords also. So even, like acting on your divine truth, which is what this star ancestor card is talking about. We have the High Priestess, which is, being in tune with your star player. Again, going back to the soul energy. The Mother of Pentacles or the Queen of Pentacles, nurturing, grounded. Yeah. It's like literally your decision, And what are you going to do about it? I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.